I want you to close your eyes for a second. Well, assuming you aren't driving.
Yeah, please keep your eyes on the road if you are.
Right. But if you can visualize this with me, you are driving down a winding country road in France.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the rolling hills are beautiful. The sun is setting, casting this golden glow over everything. And you see a herd of cows grazing.
Sounds idyllic. Classic picturesque scenery.
It really is. And for the first few minutes, it's charming. You see brown cows, you see white cows, maybe a few black cows.
Just standard cows.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They are perfectly fine cows. They're healthy. They're doing what cows do. But let's be honest, after 20 minutes,
You stop looking.
you completely tune them out. They blend into the scenery. They become visual wallpaper. You might not even remember seeing them by the time you reach the next town.
Which is fine for a Sunday drive, but it's an absolute disaster if you're a business.
Exactly. Because in this metaphor, the cows are products, and we are driving past thousands of them every single day. But imagine what if, suddenly, standing right there in the grass, you saw a purple cow.
A bright, vibrant purple cow.
Yes.
Now that you would notice.
You would slam on the brakes, you'd take a picture, you'd call your friends, you wouldn't just ignore it.
You couldn't ignore it.
Right. And that brings us to the topic of today's deep dive. We are unpacking a modern marketing classic, Seth Godin's book, Purple Cow, published back in 2003.
A phenomenal source text. This book really marked a turning point in the industry.
It did.
It shifted the whole conversation from, how do we buy more ads, to how do we build a product that inherently markets itself.
And looking at our stack of notes and research today, the mission for this deep dive is pretty clear. We want to understand why being good or competent being a brown cow is actually a death sentence now.
Yeah.
And why being remarkable, being purple, is the only way to survive.
And to really grasp why this matters, we have to look at what changed. Because for a long time, being a brown cow was actually a highly effective business strategy.
You mean the whole Mad Men era of advertising?
Exactly. The source calls it the TV industrial complex. For about 50 years, there was a really simple formula for success.
Make a decent product and shout about it.
Pretty much. You make a product, say a laundry detergent or an aspirin. It didn't have to be amazing. It just had to work.
Right.
Then you buy a massive amount of TV ads to interrupt people while they're watching I Love Lucy or The Cosby Show.
You buy attention.
You buy distribution in a supermarket, and you make money. If you had money, you had a megaphone. You had a voice.
But Godin argues that this era is dead.
Completely dead. The brown cows, the average products, they used to survive because you could just blast them into people's living rooms.
But now consumers have all the control.
We skip ads, we block pop-ups, we stream content without any commercials at all. The old megaphone isn't just broken, it's actively ignored.
Which brings us to section 1 of our research, the core philosophy here. Be remarkable or be invisible.
And this is where the purple cow metaphor becomes entirely binary. In a world where nobody is listening to your ads, the product itself has to do the talking.
The source material actually defines a purple cow as something phenomenal, counterintuitive, exciting, and flat-out remarkable.
Right.
But I want to pause on that word remarkable for a second, because I think in everyday conversation, we use it to just mean really good.
Like, oh, that pizza was remarkable.
Exactly. But the book uses it much more literally.
Yes, literally worth making a remark about, worth talking about.
Yeah.
If a product is just very good, nobody tweets about it. Nobody texts their friend to say, hey, I used this new software and it was adequately sufficient.
But wait, isn't very good the goal for most companies? I mean, if you're running a business, shouldn't you aim for excellence? It feels so weird to say that excellence is the problem.
Well, it's not that excellence is bad. It's that excellence is now the baseline.
The minimum requirement.
Exactly. Most things today work pretty well. Cars start reliably. Phones don't drop calls as often. The overall quality gap has closed significantly.
So if you are excellent in the exact same way everyone else is excellent, you're just a very shiny brown cow.
You're invisible.
That is a terrifying thought for a business owner. That you can do everything right, great quality, fair price, good service, and still fail simply because you're boring.
That is the core thesis here. Boring is the riskiest strategy there is. And that leads us right into the second big chunk of our research today, which is the paradox of risk.
Okay, let's play this out. I follow the logic. Be different, stand
Yeah.
out. But let's be real for a second.
Sure.
If I'm a marketing manager at a mid-sized company and I walk into the boardroom and say, hey, everyone, let's make our product purple and weird,
You might get fired.
I probably would get fired. It definitely feels a lot safer to say, let's see what the market leader is doing and do exactly that, but maybe 5% cheaper.
Oh, absolutely. Because you have a mortgage.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the person who launched the weird failure.
Right.
And Godin acknowledges that fear is totally valid, but he argues it's mathematically misplaced. The notes call this the paradox of risk.
Because we are hardwired to think fitting in is safe.
Biologically, yes. In high school, fitting in keeps you safe from bullies. In the wild, blending into the herd protects you from predators. Safety in numbers.
But in the marketplace...
In the marketplace, the herd is where you get slaughtered, because the herd is invisible. The safe path is actually the single most dangerous move you can make.
Walk me through the mechanics of that. Why is it guaranteed danger?
Because in a crowded market, safe equals invisible, and invisibility is fatal. If you build a boring product, you are guaranteed to fail eventually because you have absolutely no pricing power.
And no customer loyalty.
Right. You are a commodity. You're just fighting for scraps at the bottom.
So you're saying that by trying to avoid the risk of criticism, you're just accepting the certainty of irrelevance.
Precisely. You have to risk someone saying, I hate this, in order to get someone else to say, I love this.
If you try to please everyone, you end up boring everyone.
The middle of the road is where you get run over.
I love that phrase. But we have to admit, standing out invites criticism.
Right.
And people really hate being criticized.
They do. Standing out is essentially holding up a giant neon sign that says, please judge me. And the source points out that the reason there aren't more purple cows isn't a lack of good ideas.
It's a lack of guts.
It is. People are terrified of the criticism that comes with being different.
Okay, so let's say I'm willing to be brave. Or maybe just desperate enough to try this. Where do I actually start?
Well, the source material breaks this down into 3 pillars of implementation.
And step 1 is knowing your audience. But this isn't the generic advice you usually hear in Marketing 101.
No, usually marketing advice is all about defining a broad demographic. Women aged 25 to 40 living in urban areas.
Right. And Godin says that approach is totally useless.
You shouldn't be looking for a demographic. You should be looking for the sneezers.
The sneezers. I have to admit, that sounds a bit unhygienic.
It's a very 2003 metaphor for early adopters. The people who spread idea viruses. These are the folks who are completely obsessed with your category. The people who actively want to talk about new things.
So you target them specifically?
Yes, because Godin argues that the vast majority of the population, the mass market, is already ignoring you. They are perfectly happy with their brown cows.
So you ignore the majority? That seems so counterintuitive. Don't I want the biggest market possible to make the most sales?
Eventually, yes. But you cannot start there. You have to start at the edges. There's this great example in the notes about selling a car.
I like this one. It says, if you market a car to people who don't care about cars or simply can't afford one, it doesn't matter how purple or amazing the car is.
Exactly. You're just shouting into the void. Most people just want a vehicle that gets them to work safely. They aren't listening to car pitches.
But there is a small group of people, car enthusiasts, tech geeks, eco-warriors, who are actively looking for something different.
Right. And the notes use a very specific word here regarding that small group. Suffering.
Which feels a little dramatic for buying a car.
It is dramatic, but it cuts right to the core of what value actually is.
Yeah.
What is the pain point that the current brown cows aren't solving?
So it's about deep understanding.
Yes. If you understand their suffering, their ideas, their specific language, you aren't just shouting at them anymore. You're speaking to them.
Can you give me an example of suffering in a product context?
Sure. Think about left-handed people. If you are left-handed, you live in a right-handed world.
Everything is backwards.
Scissors hurt your hand. Spiral notebooks are incredibly annoying. That is a mild but real form of suffering.
Okay.
Now, if I market a purple cow, say, a perfectly engineered set of left-handed tools to the mass market, 90% of people will just ignore it or laugh. They don't need it.
But the 10% who are actually suffering?
They will go nuts for it. They will tell every single left-handed friend they have. They literally become your marketing department.
They are the sneezers.
Exactly. You solve their suffering with something exceptional, and they spread the virus for you.
So step 1 is finding the right people, the people who are actually listening. Step 2 is what the source calls finding the edge, or creating the unique value proposition.
And the text emphasizes that this is not a quick afternoon brainstorm over coffee. Finding that purple cow angle takes time.
Weeks or even months, according to the source.
And it has to exist at the edges.
What exactly do you mean by at the edges?
You can't just be kind of different. You have to be the absolute cheapest, or the fastest, or the most expensive, or the most exclusive.
You have to push it to the extreme.
Because the middle of the curve is where all the brown cows live. You have to go to the edge.
But it's not just about being weird for the sake of being weird, right? Like a car with square wheels is at the edge, but it's terrible?
Right, the notes are very clear on this. It must be useful and exceptional.
It still has to solve a problem.
It has to solve that suffering we talked about, but in a way that creates a genuine wow experience. If it's just weird but useless, it's not a purple cow. It's just a mistake.
Useful plus exceptional. Got it. Now, step 3 is about presentation and slogans.
But we aren't talking about catchy little jingles here.
Right, because a purple cow is inherently shocking.
And because it's shocking, a good slogan has to act like a bridge. It has to quickly explain to the public why this weird new thing is actually exactly what they need. It makes the unacceptable acceptable.
And the source goes further to say that marketing doesn't end with the sale. The actual presentation and design of the product must create a surprising experience.
To build loyalty. So the product continues to market itself because the experience of using it is so unique.
Okay, let's make this real. The theory makes sense, but I want to see how this actually plays out in the wild. Our research provides some major case studies of companies that didn't just improve a brown cow, they changed the farm entirely.
Let's hear them.
First up, Apple.
A classic example. The source highlights iTunes specifically.
If we think back to that era, the early 2000s, the standard brown cow was physical media. Cassettes, CDs, that was just how you bought music.
And the entire music industry was fighting digital music tooth and nail. They were suing Napster. They were terrified of MP3s.
So the safe move for a computer company would have been to just, add a better CD burner to their towers.
Right. But Apple built a purple cow by leaning directly into the shift. They introduced iTunes and the iPod. They made buying digital music easy, safe, and legal.
It was counterintuitive because they were essentially betting against the dominant format of the entire industry. They helped make the physical medium obsolete.
But it completely relieved the suffering of carrying around bulky CD binders or dealing with scratched discs. It was a totally different way to interact with your music library.
Then there's Amazon. The source specifically points to the Kindle.
And this is my favorite example of the paradox of risk we talked about. Remember, Amazon was primarily a bookstore.
Right.
Their entire business model, their huge warehouses, their logistics, everything was built around shipping physical books to people's houses.
So spending millions to build an e-reader device seems borderline suicidal.
On paper, it looks crazy. Why would you invent a device that actively stops people from buying your main product?
They were cannibalizing their own brown cow.
They were. But they did it anyway. Because they understood the purple cow philosophy. If we don't do it, someone else will.
It's better to cannibalize yourself than to let a competitor eat you.
Exactly. They created an exceptional digital reading experience. They bore the massive risk of being different to avoid the absolute certainty of becoming irrelevant later.
Powerful. Now, the source also mentions Nike, which is slightly different.
Yes, specifically focusing on the slogan, just do it.
It's an iconic slogan, so simple. But how exactly is a slogan a purple cow?
Because you have to look at what the industry was doing before Nike did that. Athletic shoe marketing used to be entirely about specs.
Oh, like this shoe has 20% more grip.
Right. This shoe supports your arch better. It was purely functional, and it was incredibly boring.
Just a bunch of brown cows comparing specs.
But Nike didn't sell the shoe. They sold an attitude.
They sold the feeling of being an athlete.
Just do. It isn't about the product at all. It's about the user. It perfectly encapsulates a lifestyle and a mindset.
And that slogan helped turn a simple shoe company into a global movement. It gave their purple cow a very distinct voice.
Absolutely.
The last case study we have here is really interesting because it gets back into specific tech hardware. Huawei and the P20 Pro smartphone.
This is a fantastic modern example. The challenge Huawei faced was just immense. They were competing against absolute giants, Samsung and Apple.
Those are some very big, very established brown cows. You can't just show up and say, hey, our phone is basically as good as an iPhone.
Nobody cares. So you have to find a specific edge. And the source notes that Huawei focused entirely on the camera strength.
I remember this. They didn't try to just be a universally good phone. They decided to be the absolute best camera that happened to make phone calls.
Exactly. They put, what, 3 lenses on the back when everyone else only had 1 or 2?
Yeah, it looked crazy at the time.
But it grabbed attention. It instantly positioned them as the undisputed leader in mobile photography. It distinguished them from the traditional competition.
They didn't try to win on every single front. They picked one spot to be aggressively purple.
It worked.
So we have our purple cow, we found our edge, we targeted the sneezers, we launched it. It's remarkable. We're rich and happy forever.
I really wish it worked that way. But this leads us to Section 5 of the research, the cycle of innovation.
There's a catch.
There is a very specific warning in the source text. A purple cow does not stay purple forever.
Why not?
Because of normalization. The remarkable always becomes the common.
Right, the car example again.
Exactly. 50 years ago, having power windows in a car was a purple cow feature. It was remarkable. People talked about it.
But now, if you launch a car with power windows today, literally nobody cares. It's standard.
And your competitors are absolutely ruthless.
Okay.
If you have a purple cow, they will immediately go buy purple paint.
They just copy the features.
Yep. If you invent a 3-lens camera, next year, every single phone on the market has a 3-lens camera. The edge moves.
That sounds exhausting. It means you can never just rest on your laurels.
You can't. The source explicitly says you must be an innovative creative. You have to constantly invent new purple cows.
New colors, new ideas.
The very moment you stop innovating and just start trying to protect your old success, your cow is already turning brown again.
You lose the competitive advantage. It's a relentless treadmill.
It is the game. But the source frames it not as this terrible burden, but as a thrilling necessity for survival. You have to be willing to replace your own ideas with better ones before someone else does.
Well, let's wrap this up. We've covered a huge amount of ground today, from the death of traditional TV ads to the actual danger of playing it safe to targeting early adopters.
If we summarize the deep dive, the purple cow is ultimately a strategy of distinguishing your product to the point where it does the marketing for you.
It's about targeting the right people, those snoozers who are actually listening, with the right exceptional message.
And fully internalizing that playing it safe is the most dangerous thing you can possibly do in business today.
I want to leave the listener with a final provocative thought. Something derived directly from the source text that really stuck with me during our research.
Let's hear it.
The source explicitly mentions that business owners don't just want satisfied customers. Satisfaction is a brown cow metric.
Yeah, satisfaction is boring.
What they actually want is sales. But to get sales in a crowded, noisy world, you have to offer something that relieves the customer's suffering in a way they've never seen before.
You have to be the specific antidote to their boredom or their frustration.
That's a very high bar, but it seems like it's the only one that actually matters anymore.
It really is.
So here is my question to you, listening right now. Look at your own business, your career, or your current project. You are probably standing in a giant field of brown cows.
You might be tempted to just keep your head down and graze like everyone else.
But ask yourself, what is the one thing, the one scary, counterintuitive, risky thing you could do tomorrow that would be truly purple?
Don't just fit in. Stand out.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.